Good morning, good afternoon, PayProTec Nation, PPT Nation. I am live here in Anaheim, California, where I'm looking out my window and seeing the marine layer. Looks a little bit groggy here for 9 a.m. in Anaheim, but I can see just off in the distance Disneyland. I'm not here for Disneyland. I'm here for a convention center that's behind me for the California Dental Association, helping one of our offices as they continue to sell and grow and help dentists across the United States and now here in California. But as I was thinking through and I was taking an early morning walk this morning, the thing I love about Southern California is you have this thing they call the marine layer and it makes every morning seem like a cloudy morning. It makes every morning seem like it's going to be a dreary day. And then around 1 o'clock, that sun starts going through. And every afternoon, I know it's not every afternoon, but 345 days a year, that sun comes out, it warms up, it becomes beautiful, and you get to watch that beautiful sunset on that Pacific Ocean. That is the kind of things that we're always trying to do for our merchants. Sometimes things are cloudy. Things aren't going as well as they possibly can. They have problems and issues in their business that they need solved, and we're coming alongside of them and providing them solutions. And one of the newest solutions that bring the cloudiness to turn to sunset, to take away the marine layer that shows up sometimes in all of our businesses, is the P-Line and the Deja Vu iPause Gateway. And today we're going to talk about that as we've continued to and talk a little bit about problems and solutions. But as we do that, let me bring up, as soon as I can find my button, it got hidden here. I think that's it. The best trainers and relationship managers in the land on the right-hand side of your screen from Warsaw, Indiana. I think approximately 1,962 miles from where I am sitting right now, Mr. Mike Stetzel. Mike, how are you and how is life in Warsaw, Indiana?
Good. It is going to be 60 something today, finally, 80 by the weekend. And I just want to share a funny story. Recall, I think, uh, Nate and Jenny, after a couple shows, I'm like, who is Dan J from OK? All right. So the other day, I'm working with a guy training him, and I didn't put this together very quickly, but he asked me how many people do we have that work in Oklahoma, and I said we have some, but I don't know that anybody really sort of owns all the territory. I said, I'll be honest, there's a guy that comes on our YouTube all the time, Dan J from OK. Now, if I had really thought hard, I might have thought about this ahead of time, considering his name was Dan Johnson. He goes, I'm Dan J from OK. So we know who Dan J is now. Dan J is now a signed partner of PayProTec.
Why, Dan J, thank you for bringing yourself. And Mike, way to step right into it and admit that you didn't know who he was, and you got the training done and you got it all in. So I like that. And we're spanning the globe here in between where I am. I don't know, it's probably not exactly the midway point. Probably the midway point somewhere is in Oklahoma between here and Warsaw, Indiana. But in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, just off of I-70, staring at the Colorado River, if she would just step out of her office just a few feet, is Jenny Rickle. Jenny, how are you? Since the last time we spoke live on air, you've done a couple races, from a half marathon in Brooklyn to a 50K race in New Mexico. How is life? And when's your next race?
Hmm. Yeah, it's been a busy month, right? Brooklyn was fantastic. Did a half marathon there, and that was just so much fun. And then I signed up for a 50-mile race, and it's so different, right? On the half marathon in Brooklyn, you see people, and there's a lot of energy. When you go these longer distances in the mountains, you spend a lot of time by yourself. The 50-mile, I didn't get to a place where I needed to be at 12 o'clock. So they diverted my race. And instead of following the 50-mile, I went down to 50 kilometers, which for those of you who need help, it's 33 miles. And it was great. It was hot. I wasn't expecting it. In Colorado, like, it's been snowing a little bit off and on. When I went to New Mexico, it was 85 degrees. So
Yeah.
that shock was definitely a little hard to work through,
Oh,
but it was great. And I can't wait. My next big race, I'm going to try the Leadville 100, and that's in August. So I got some training to do, and we'll see how it goes.
that's awesome. Jenny, that's the race that I told you. I have a friend that does that periodically when you
Mm-hmm.
first started doing it. And he's
Mm-hmm.
been doing a little bit of fundraising for it now, and really touting it. And he's probably your age too. I'm just amazed and impressed still.
Like 22, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
um,
Well, he doesn't look, he's bald like me, so he can't get
yeah.
away with it like you do.
mad props to anybody who can finish that race. It is incredible. It's kind of iconic, and I'm very, very excited to just try.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of finishing the race, we are have finished the race of getting the P line and the iPods Gateway officially on EPX. It's been a few weeks since we have launched that, and today we want to talk about some kind of problem solutions that P line can solve for your merchants, and where some specific fits may be for when you are going in and engaging with new merchants and hearing their problems. We may have a solution because of what the P line brings or the iPods Gateway. So we're going to come up with price, around 6 or 7 things. I don't know exactly over the next few minutes, and we'll respond and look at any comments there of anybody watching live for sure too. Jenny, do you want to kick us off? What is one of the problem solutions that we know that the iPods Gateway or the P line can do and help a merchant?
One thing that I really love about the P line is that it can just be a simple device, right? Or you can add in the iPods and have that gateway in the back and helping out with inventory management, right? So perhaps you're working with a business where they start a little bit smaller and they just want simply a way to take a payment. But in the future, they're asking, hey, I would like to help my inventory management. Can we do that? So instead of getting a new terminal and getting through a whole new setup and learning the whole new system, we can just integrate what we have already. So it's easy to use. It has a lot of really great features, and it can be very basic to just take a payment, or you can elaborate on that, add invoicing, add some additional features to help a business run smoothly.
Perfect. I think it's a great transition device, and a lot of devices, especially not to throw them under the bus, but the Ingenico devices and things, are not really a transition. They're just basic. And a
Mm-hmm.
Deja Vu can grow with you to a certain point and can add some features. And if you need some small inventory, you can do those things, and then you can grow and make those big jumps to a POS if you need to have dozens of features, or you're going into there's other things you need to do. And Deja Vu even provides some of that. You can jump within itself because they have the Deja Vu. I can't. I do appreciate that Ron 2 weeks ago, or last week specifically said how poorly their branding is, because I get confused on, is it Deja Vu, PayPro, XYZ, DYZ, P18, P1, P8, QD4, Z11. All right,
Yeah,
Mike, you are up. What is your
totally agree.
problem solution?
The
So,
one thing that I learned recently is there is an app in the DV store. Um, it's called EVS Age Verification App. And so let's say, you own a liquor store, you're in a college town, so that means everybody's getting carded. It's taking time, but with that app, it enables real-time ID scanning right from the Deja Vu terminal. Again, going back to what Jenny said, because of iPos Pays, that gateway is going to be the key to what we are seeing Deja Vu do and will continue to do, for years to come. So I thought that was really cool. It's not something that we offer on any of our products. So, that's one of those things that can keep that make us different. Again, makes PayProTec a little different than anybody else that's out there just selling a few terminals. We're trying to do different things. And this is a really cool feature.
I like that a lot. I think it's a one of the things that I was noticing. Let me get back to our 3 shot here. Um, I was flying through maybe just yesterday through Salt Lake City, and the rules are a little different in Salt Lake City. And I had a 2 hour layover on my flight here to LAX before jumping on, and I may have asked for a mimosa, and the person said, "I'll need to see your ID." And I was like, okay, yeah, that's not unusual. Everybody thinks I'm under 21.
You
And
got the haircut.
but they took the ID and had to go scan it in, because
Oh
any
man.
alcohol purchases in the state of Utah, there are limited, but they have to scan in the ID. And I thought, perfect, this perfect thing. Also, I was just this is appropriate on payments, so they did that, scanned in my ID, got my drinks, got a little croquette, the French pastry thing that I was having, and I went to pay, and their whole HMS system was down. And so and this is the third time probably in the last 2 years this has
Mm.
happened. The whole system was down and they couldn't pay and they have no way to do offline payments. And I knew I was speaking to a crowd that couldn't make any decision making, but I'm like, your parent company
Right.
should know that you can create systems that can take offline payments, including Deja Vu can do that and can have multiple of their system can actually be able to take those transactions and wait for that to come back up and be able to process those transactions even after in an offline mode. And I was like, I always feel that, and I didn't have any cash on me. I hate that, and so I was like, man, I always need to go get cash before I go on these trips, and I hadn't got because I was like, I don't need cash for this trip. I wanted to tip because my waitress had been wonderful and I couldn't even tip her. And so I did go, I had to walk down, find an ATM, pay the exorbitant ATM fee, and then go back and give her cash so I could give her a little something for taking care of me. All right. That's
That was
my
nice.
tip. So, well, and I was just like, when the systems go down, who does it? Yes, they're going to, I don't know when they got it back up, but it messes over certainly the restaurant. They're going to lose some money. But those who mess over, there's a lady who was taking care of four different of our tables in the area, and none of us could tip her unless we had cash. And I
Yep.
noticed only well, the one group had cash. I don't think the other two came back. I went down to an ATM. Luckily, there was one. Now, I think it was $10 ATM surcharge for me to use that ATM in
Are
the
you
that
kidding
was the
me?
largest I had ever seen. I was like,
I've
I
never
pulled out
seen above three
$100
or
and it cost me
four.
110. I was like, 10%? Jeez. I should
Wow.
have pulled out more money so the percentage went down. Um, but and then on top of that, I was out of network, of course, so I'll get hit by something on my bank. I'm sure I didn't even pay attention to that. So, all right,
Yeah.
Jenny, what else does the P1 do? What problem solution does it do?
Well, I was going to talk about the offline transactions, but we just went over
Oh,
that. So
sorry.
something else that right, you took mine. But there's a lot to talk about. So something that I thought was really cool, and it's not necessarily a problem, but I think it's a really neat feature, is the ability to have advertising on the screen when there's not a transaction running. So perhaps it's like a salon or a hairstyle, and for the month of June, you get 10% off. You can put that right there in the advertising. Or perhaps there's a local community going on, like a local like run group after it's a run store. And so this is obviously something I run into, right? And there's a run group later on, and you can put that there. So, or maybe it's just a logo and things like that. But I really like how you can customize the screen because people look at the screens a lot. So if they're not making a payment, you can also put something else, an advertisement, a logo, something there to catch their eye and just promote your business. It's a really cool feature.
And it's something that I think we need to do a whole show just on that, on the ability
It's
to do these
neat.
advertising, and come up with ideas of ways to use it. Using a run club, maybe it's future events, maybe it's discounts. We're gonna, in fact, today I'm gonna be meeting with Enroll and Pay, and we'll talk. I know they have screens that they can push in for that advertising about making sure you join the loyalty programs. There's lots of
Mhm.
ways to use that advertising screen, especially on those two screens. And I can't wait. And there's what now well, two full and soon to be three devices that have two screens that have that capability to do the customer facing screen. So you get those advertising all the time. I love that.
Yep.
So, all right, Mike Stetzel, what do you got?
I'm chuckling at Dan saying Nate Manahan, Renaissance man, uh, because it was due to your croissant or whatever it was and your champagne. Um, I was going to talk about the thing that Jenny just said, but um, I,
Yeah. So here's what you
it'll
guys
come
don't
back
know in
to
the
me.
back. Here's what our live audience and those watching afterwards need to know. We created a list of 20 problems and solutions, and we all said choose, but we didn't tell each other what we're going to choose. So we should have taken that next step and all planned that ahead, so we knew. Okay, Jenny, do
Well,
you have another one, or Mike? Go ahead.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
go
I'm
ahead, Mike.
okay
Yeah.
now, and I think you just touched on it briefly is using enroll and pay with the again iPOS Pays now integrates with enroll and pay, and that is a card based loyalty system which makes it very simple for your customer. They swipe their card, they get points. Now, there's also a way to add an additional card to their profile if they're not always using the same card. But the point is, Enroll and Pay is another one of those companies out there that's been different and is doing things differently and making things simple like Deja Vu. So another way for someone to get a loyalty program going without spending a fortune for a whole separate system.
And a very, very top level loyalty system. It's not that's and
Hmm.
that doesn't add in it streamlines the process. We've highlighted enrollment pay. We'll do it again now. It's on the P line because it's very easy to integrate in the P line. It's very easy for the merchant to upgrade, and we've been excited to be able to do that. And the P line gives them some opportunities to do some stuff. But being able to do a loyalty program where you don't have to type in a phone number, you don't have to, it's all tied to that debit or credit card and the token that is created by that. So you can track what's going on without having to add another function and slowing down the process. And then you can enter into a marketing relationship with these people. So it's not just rewarding them for loyalty, but you're getting into this place where you're gathering their emails eventually. You have their phone numbers that's tied to what they're spending, and you can upsell and convince them to be able to buy more. And we know loyalty programs work, and it's a great thing. So we'll talk about that again. We're going to do another live training. Like I said, I'm literally, when I'm done here, I'm getting in my rental car and driving about 30 minutes, and Brian's meeting me halfway to have some coffee and talk about some ways that we can promote enrollment pay. All right, Jenny, do you have a last one because we close out? They
Yeah, I think that's something that's really beneficial to business owners is real-time reporting, right? So you have this simple terminal, but you have the ability to go onto the back office and take a look. Was that transaction successful? Do you need to avoid it? Anything like that? So have a little bit more control, right? So if you're using a more simple terminal like the Ingenico, you don't have that option. You can see your transactions, but it's going to be a day or two later in the Payments Hub portal. So with the Deja Vu in the back end office, you have that real-time reporting, which is so beneficial for your day-to-day activities if you need to see what's going on and take a look at your, the transactions coming in, if they batched, any type of questions where you can solve yourself instead of having to call in and wait in the call queue. You can be a lot more self-sufficient with the back end office here with our P-Line series.
I love that a lot. And I think there we're seeing more and more of our offices use that back end. And so sorry, there we go. My computer screen, I couldn't see it. And one of the things I think that I'm hearing from our partners is how easy the user interface is on these new P devices, and how
Yes.
smooth it is versus what it's been in previous renditions. Not going to throw everyone under the bus, just going to say merchants are enjoying using the user interface that is on these new P devices, and I think that's good. I'm going to close out with two because I'm hosting, and I get to I get to choose that I want
The
to do that.
power,
That
got the
is
power.
so. The one is we're going to highlight this in a couple weeks. It'll probably be right after Memorial Day, but because I know we have our first partners now. Integrating with this with the WooCommerce plugin, and we've had a WooCommerce. We have several WooCommerce plugins, but this one actually directly integrates with the card present and the card not present, and brings them all together in one dashboard versus having to see multiple different places and log in. And like what Jenny had already said, that consistency of live reporting and all the things to be able to see it. And apparently the ease of use and how easy it is just to get it up and running on a WooCommerce plugin is extremely, extremely good. Number two is one that I thought of, and we can do this on other devices. Certainly, we want to shout out to our other partners like at Valor, and they can do this too. But not only can you do advertising on those screens, but you can also do self promotion where you're encouraging on the closeout screens. Hey, you just finished your transaction. Scan this QR code and leave me a Google review. And you can tie that also into Enroll and Pay. There are ways to do that where you can say, hey, we're ready to leave a Google review and get 10% off, things like that. But when I'm traveling, I always think I'm having lunch tomorrow with one of our partners is driving down from a little farther north down here to have lunch with me, and I needed to find a place to host lunch. How did I choose? One, a place that I could make a reservation. That was number one. And two, I was looking at reviews, making sure this is the top reviewed place that I could possibly choose that was right here, so I could make sure that I have a good experience with this partner tomorrow. And that is an important, just being able to do those things simply through the P line and through the iPOS gateway makes life a lot better. All right. Any last words as we close out today and our closing words for the P line and iPOS gateway?
I would just say also there's a whole family of the P line, you guys. So you can have a countertop, you can have a mobile, you can have a dual screen display. So we have a lot of options here with the P line to really fit the customer's needs, and then the back office to control inventory reporting. There's just so many features. Like Nate said, we have a whole list. We only touched like a few items, so there are a lot of great features, and the P line family in itself is really going to help provide more solutions to you all as sales partners out there.
Totally true. And Mike, you want to give us a closing statement as we close out here for Thursday,
Sure.
May 14th, the day before payday for our partners? What's hitting
It
their accounts?
is.
They're getting paid tomorrow. I love it. It's a good payday. All right. Sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
No, it's okay. No, it is exciting. I want to shout out to Billy and Cam and Tim in our office here in Warsaw for fielding all the new questions, for getting all these things programmed and getting them out the door as the excitement's continued. And they've just done a great job and really killed it for us and being responsive when we need things answered. Because obviously, 2 Fridays ago, tomorrow, 2 weeks ago tomorrow is when we started talking about all this, and it generated a huge beehive of excitement. So we've had a lot of activity. I just want to shout those guys
I agree.
Great. Yep. And here, I'm going to shout them out even more. Make them busier. Go ahead and put those deals in. Get those new
out.
merchants. Get them. We want to see more deployments, more shipments, more people using it. Come up with unique ways. And one of the things I will say, reach out to me, Nate at PayProTec.com. If you are using and utilizing this and you have a unique experience or something, something I would like to hear positive. I'm not going to host. I'll respond to the negative. I probably won't put that up on it, but I want to tell some more stories over the weeks to come of how merchants are using these devices and this gateway to be able to help and grow their businesses, and how you're being able to grow your portfolio, because we want to help your portfolio grow up and to the right. That is our whole goal. We want to help, and together we grow. We don't grow if you don't grow, and you don't grow if your merchants don't grow. Let's keep growing. That's what we're all about. Mike, Jenny, thank you guys very much. I can't wait till I think we'll be on. I can't remember what we're talking about next week. I think we have an interview next week, but we'll find out. And we're the Thursday before Memorial Day. Can you believe Memorial Day is almost here? In the Indianapolis
Wow.
500, it's sold out. 350,000 people in the grandstands. Be over 500,000 people watching racing on the 20, whatever that is, the 5th on Memorial Day. We're here. My kids are out of school next Thursday. What's going on here? Yeah. So
Yeah.
all right.
Here too.
But all right. Thank you guys, everybody. We'll see you next time on Office Hours.
Thanks,
Bye, everybody.
everybody. See ya.